Hey, everybody, welcome to the third and final live stream for launch day. I feel like launch day has gone on forever, except that it didn't really start until I got up like around 9 o'clock this morning. But fortunately, it's now the third stream. It's 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I've got with me in the studio a few readers that are going to talk a little bit about their experience with After December and Before Pittsburgh. But before we get to that, I'd like to remind you what some of the giveaways were for today. So just as a reminder, we have these cool shot glasses. They say Before Pittsburgh on the one side, and then there's the purple butterfly on the other. The purple butterfly was chosen by my readers who are subscribers to my email list. If you're not yet a subscriber to the email list, go out to afterdecember.com or caseywhitener.com or beforepittsburgh.com. Turns out they all go to the same place. Clever, I know. If you go out there and you get the chance to subscribe to the email, I think it's a pop-up box that'll say subscribe to my email list. And it's really easy to just put in your name and subscribe. I don't send a whole lot of email, usually like once per month, just to let you know there's a new blog post up. And certainly there's been more recently because we've been getting ready for today. Yay, launch day. A quick shout out to my Teddy Ruxpin's book club. Teddy Ruxpin's book club is the field team for this particular, for my group, for all my people. Can you tell I've had some wine? Does it sound like I've had some wine? Teddy Ruxpin's book club is my field team. I just want to say thank you to all of them for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for being out here today to get as many people aware of Before Pittsburgh as absolutely possible. Thank you to all of you. We also had a contest, a giveaway, where if you had shared a particular post, a particular link, right, it actually said on the post, share me and get a shot glass. If you had shared that, you would get a shot glass. So congratulations to those of you who found that post and shared it. I really appreciate you, and we'll be sending your shot glass shortly. There's a lot of alliteration there, sending your shot glass shortly. So I did these wine glasses for After December. And this was a gift that I gave to people who invited me to be part of their book club. So if you're interested in bringing Before Pittsburgh to your book club, you can also get a shot glass simply for hosting me at your book club. I did have an idea that in this final one, we would play Power Hour, since that's the way the book begins. And because my first guest that I'm talking to tonight is the guy that I used to play a lot of Power Hour with. So get ready, Josh, because I'm coming to you in just about 5 seconds. But before we get to that, one more shout out to Chrysalis Press. Thank you guys so much for promoting my book, for making this possible for Before Pittsburgh. Super excited about it. If you pre-ordered it, your Kindle edition should already be downloaded. And if you ordered a paperback copy, it will be in the mail today, if not tomorrow. You can bring your paperback copies to the book launch party. If you're coming to Beef O'Brady's, it's this coming Saturday at 7 p.m. at Beef O'Brady's on Hardscrabble Road. I'd be glad if you would RSVP to the event in Facebook so that I know how many people are coming, but I'm probably going to be hitting people up individually. Hey, you're coming on Saturday? Just to find out. So, no worries there. And then there's another one next week in the morning, on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. at Sunrise Artisan down in 5 Points. So you're welcome to come to that one as well. Both of these are in the Columbia, South Carolina area. So either one of those, if you're available and can come to those, buy your book on Amazon, bring it with you when you come, and I'll be glad to sign it for you then. Okay, so as promised, this third and final live stream includes readers of the book. And I want to introduce Josh in a particular way. So number one, Josh will not put his camera on. He's like my students. So we get to look at his little weird gray avatar. And number two, Josh, I got to tell you, when you read my book, when you read After December over the summer, I've never been prouder of any comment ever than when you texted me and said, I must read Before Pittsburgh right now. So thank you for that. At first, I didn't even realize you had never read After December. And then when you said you were reading it, and then you said you had just finished it, and could I please send you Before Pittsburgh right away? I was really thrilled by that. So tell our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about who you are and what this book meant. Let's start with After December. What did it mean to you? Why did it take you so long to read it, dude? We've known each other forever.
A little bit about me. Well, like you said, I've known you forever. We went to high school together. Had more than one adventure during that time that kind of parallels stuff in the book, places and events. I'm just gonna say it because there's, you know me, I'm not very good with words. I forgot about it. Had
Nice.
it, bought we we bought it and had it on the Kindle, and I'm not a huge reader. I'll go on kicks, and I just hadn't gone on one of those kicks. That is until I remembered and decided I wanted to read it, and read it in, I think, 4 days, which is huge for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
would go upstairs about, I don't know, after dinner, 7 o'clock, and read until 10 or 11, because I thoroughly enjoyed it and just honestly could not put it down. I had to force myself to go to bed. Oh,
See,
one
that's
more
what I
chapter
like to
thing.
hear. Yeah, that's what I like to
I did.
hear.
I really got into it. I loved it.
So the chapter structure has been a challenge for a lot of people with After December because there's not traditional chapters like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And so people don't really know when the section's going to end or where, and they don't want to give up, right? So After December is built by day. And I did it that on purpose. I once read a book by Michael Crichton called A Case of Need that was told in days, day 1, day 2, day 3. And I wanted to do the same thing. And so I felt like After December was the right book for that. But we get this main character, Brian, in the 5 worst days of his life. So you are not my target demographic, Josh. My target demographic is usually women in our age group. So I was really excited that you read it, and you really did. You like this guy? Did he resonate with you? Did you know this guy? I mean, what was your connection to Brian?
Um, I did like him. I feel honestly, I feel like he. I wasn't prepared for what this was going to be. So sorry as I stumble through
Well,
this.
we're waiting for the other half of we on your side, right? We're waiting for Teresa to be part of the conversation too. So sorry, it's all on you right now.
No, it's all good.
But don't
Um,
worry, there's nobody watching live, so it's legitimately just you and me.
no, I did like him. I feel like a lot of his friends kind of ganged up on him and blamed him for everything, for whatever circumstances he created himself, or just the way life works. Used their circumstances and made it all his fault. And it was interesting to see that kind of evolve. Um, I don't know how detailed you want to go into this. Uh,
I mean, it's launch day, so we're going to get as detailed as we need to. The only
well, I don't want
reason
to.
people are tuning in is because they want to talk about the book. So,
Well, I also don't want to give anything away.
yeah. So I asked you about Jason specifically as a character because somebody had mentioned maybe a third book in this series. I don't feel a third book coming, by the way, out of this series, but if there was one, it would probably come from Jason's perspective. When you say you think of Brian's friends as having ganged up on him, is Jason somebody that you're thinking about? I mean, Jason,
Yes.
he's kind of an asshole, right? Like he sleeps with Brian's girlfriend. Like this seems out of bounds in After December.
It wow, and I just thought of something. But yeah, I never really, I never really put that. I more looked at the circumstances of how it happened. But you're right, and he is kind of an asshole, and especially again, cut me off if I'm going too deep in this. You know,
No, you're doing
the
great.
incident that happens at their house. You know, all of a sudden, it's let's all turn on uh, Brian, knowing full well what Casey's issues were.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. So you're
And
talking about the chapter in After December that's a New Year's Eve chapter, and it comes in. It's this big flashback. So After December is told 5 days, right? And we get our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we get this flashback to 1998. And the way the structure of the book is done is right about the time you're really sick of people referring to New Year's Eve without knowing what happened on New Year's Eve. I actually give you that chapter, that New Year's Eve chapter. And so then people read the New Year's Eve chapter. You get to see Tony walking around alive and interacting with his friends. He's been dead since the beginning of the book. And so that's it's almost like a kind of a surreal moment where you get into that New Year's Eve chapter. That's probably my favorite part of After December is when we get to go back in time and see Tony interacting with his friends.
yeah, I was waiting for that to come. that chapter, that is, excuse me,
Yeah.
the explanation of that. And I think it came at a really good time because you had alluded and poked and prodded and brought it up enough, but not too much. So it was in a good place, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
So I'll remember, I can tell you this because we've been friends for so long. I'll remember that I was writing after December and I knew something bad had happened New Year's Eve, but I wasn't sure. And I'll like never forget going into the living room, leaving my desk here in my office and going into the living room and sitting down and basically saying out loud, all right, Brian, be honest with me. What happened on New Year's Eve? Like I had no idea for the first few chapters of that book. I didn't know. I just knew something bad had happened, but I didn't know what it was. And then I'm sitting in my living room and I'm asking this character to talk to me like a crazy person, okay? Like a total lunatic. and all the writers who are watching or who ever had this experience, you know what I'm talking about. But sometimes the character knows things that you don't actually know. And so I said to myself, I said to Brian, like, you just got to be honest with me about what happened. And I came back into the office and sat, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that's what happened on New Year's Eve. So you're listening to me and Josh talk about After December, which is the first book in the duet. And the second book is Before Pittsburgh. And what I think, mostly thrilled about, Josh, is that after you finished After December, you sent me a text that said, I have to read Before Pittsburgh now. I can't wait until August when it gets released. And that to me was amazing because it felt urgent. It felt like you had connected with these people so much that you didn't want it to be over. And that's what I want people to feel out of the duet. So talk a little bit about that. Talk about coming to the end of After December and then being ready to jump into Before Pittsburgh.
Okay, again, me being me, I'll be honest. I finished it, went to bed that night, and the next day is when I actually texted you because I finished it, like I was saying, 10 o'clock or so. So it was a good stopping point. And I went on Amazon, which is probably one of my least favorite websites on the planet, especially the Kindle part of it, trying to find it because like the artwork's there and you can link to it, and it was either me just not paying attention because I was half working or probably playing video games, more like it. Didn't notice the fact that it said pre-order, so I spent a good 20 minutes trying to get this thing on my Kindle. And that's when I finally realized it doesn't come out until August, whatever, 18th. I don't even know what today is.
17th.
17th. And I was like, oh, heck no, that ain't going to fly. And that's when I texted you.
So this is probably one of the greatest texts I ever received in my life. I must read Before Pittsburgh right now. I will not wait until the release date. And I was really excited about it. Like I said, you're not the target demographic. In fact, I think writing from a male perspective, I always have this sort of like imposter syndrome. Like maybe I wrote this character that isn't very believable because I'm a woman and he's not. But I've never gotten that feedback. Most people have said that they felt like Brian was pretty authentic, even if maybe he's in Before Pittsburgh, even if maybe he's a little bit too weepy. So talk about Before Pittsburgh. What did you think? You did get to read it almost right away. You said it took you like 2 days to get through Before Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, a little longer than that. I read slow, but no, it was, I went right from nightly reading of After December into Before Pittsburgh. And, to your credit, your publisher's credit, whoever, the snippet that was at the end of After December is why I went searching for it, because it was very relatable. It reminded me of events in my own life. So, and I'm rambling, and I haven't.
No, you're fine. You're not rambling at all. If you were rambling, I would 100% cut you off.
What did you actually ask me?
No, I was just asking, like, you're doing perfectly, because I was just asking you about your feelings, like what made you want to read Before Pittsburgh. So we start Before Pittsburgh, And we talked about this in the first couple of live streams. The first scene of Before Pittsburgh is a flashback to 1995, and we see Brian and Tony interacting as brothers, as buddies, right, as best friends. So what did you think of that? How did you feel about the opening scene of Before Pittsburgh? Did you want to go back in time? Did you want to see Brian and Tony interacting? Like, how did you feel about the opening scene?
I'm trying to remember.
They played Power Hour.
Um,
And they went to a fraternity party at Radford.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now I remember.
Power
I
Hour.
love getting old. Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, again, so much both of these books is relatable for me, especially for me because of our shared interactions and parallels or, ideas that may have came from things that we did growing up. That it was great. It was a great scene, and like I was saying with the snippet from After December, especially the frat party part, because the Power Hour that's burned in my brain, sitting in the dark in a circle with beer cans guarding us, guarding you, excuse me. But the frat party, I can picture a house in South Carolina at a party that felt very much like that. Not necessarily with the actions, but the atmosphere.
So let me ask you this.
And,
Since you're one of my Northern Virginia friends, I know a lot of people felt like After December was really authentic because it was so much places that they knew, places they'd been. And a lot of Before Pittsburgh takes place in places you've probably never been. Barcelona, San Francisco, Tucson, Nashville. I think you have been in Nashville, but Tucson, right? How did the changes in those cities or the move in Before Pittsburgh from place to place, did it still feel as authentic, or did it feel like I was trying too hard to tell you about these random places? You can be honest, because now I've had 2 glasses of wine.
I don't really have a comment on that. I thought they flowed and worked. Maybe for somebody that's been to those places, they got a different impression from it. But other than Nashville, yes, I've been there. Been there twice actually. I love Nashville. But the other places, you're right, I have not been to. So there's not really, my knowledge base of those places is what I've seen in spy movies and TV shows. So I didn't feel that it was disingenuous. That's probably the wrong word. Unauthentic. But I don't really have anything to compare it to.
No, I'm good
But
with that.
I thought they worked. I thought especially the Barcelona, the bar scene in Barcelona. Again, from everything I've seen on TV of stuff in Europe, it felt it was written well enough to feel like it was Europe. If that makes sense.
Thank you for that. I'll take that compliment all day long. Because I've never been to Barcelona. So I definitely base those scenes on places I'd been in other Eastern European or Western European countries, in places I've been in France and in Croatia, right? So they have a European feel to them, but they're certainly probably not authentic Barcelona, although I don't know. Maybe somebody who lives in Barcelona can chime in and let us know. Is Teresa ready? Is she there? Can you talk to her? She's kind of in the backstage area, but I don't know when I'm supposed to bring her forward. I told her to give me a thumbs up when she was ready.
Okay.
So thanks to our live viewers who are here. Josh and I are talking about After December and Before Pittsburgh. And I'm kind of put him on the spot because we're waiting for Teresa as well, but she got called into another meeting. So as we're sort of, drawing this out a little bit, I'm going to show you again the giveaways. They're these shot glasses that I painted up. The butterfly is based on my readers on my reader list, my email list, that voted for a purple butterfly. Some of you know that I've got tattoos on my, where you go? On my wrist. that are all for the books. I don't know how to get them on the camera. So 1 tattoo per book. And the tattoo for After December is a monarch. And I want to get another monarch for Before Pittsburgh since they're a duet. And so I was asking my readers what color should that monarch be, and they voted for purple. So we'll wait and see if that ends up being the case or not. My daughter doesn't think so. She thinks it should be blue to match the cover of the book. So all that to say, thanks for those of you who are watching and paying attention. This is the third live stream on launch day for Before Pittsburgh. It's available now out there on Amazon.com, which, as Josh mentioned, is absolutely the worst place on the planet to buy anything ever. Is Teresa ready?
Before I answer that question, I have to vehemently disagree with your daughter and very strongly agree with your readers. Purple is the way to go. And yes, she is ready.
Yes. All right, cool. Let me bring Teresa in here too. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good. We can hear you now.
Josh was talking and I was like, oh, I want to chime in. Oh, I want to chime in. I can't. I wasn't in there yet.
Yeah, no. So I wasn't sure how when to bring you in. So I'm glad you're here. And I'm going to move our pictures around just a little bit. Let me move myself into the middle here since you guys are avatars. So this is a little bit like being on my radio show where there's like disembodied voices. So people are watching on Facebook. These are my friends, Josh and Teresa. And they've both read After December. And Teresa just got a hold of Before Pittsburgh. But you finished After December today. And we were talking about Josh feeling like a sense of urgency that he had to read Before Pittsburgh right away. So is that how you're feeling?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay.
I've already got it on my Kindle, and when I go to bed tonight, that's what I'll be reading. And I have to agree with what Josh said. That very last snippet at the end made me super excited to read the next book.
That's awesome. That's the only part of this book I had written when we published After December.
Seriously?
Yeah, she goes, it's 2019, right? And we're publishing After December. And she says, do you have anything for Before Pittsburgh that we can put in the back of this book? And I was like, maybe. And like, that's the only scene I had written. But I do have a question for you though, Josh, before we get back to Teresa. So part of Before Pittsburgh is epistolary, which means it's letters written back and forth, Brian via email to Tony and to like multiple other people. Did the letters work for you? That's a different kind of writing, different kind of storytelling. Did that work for you or did that feel like jarring or uncomfortable?
It was, for me personally, it was difficult. Just because, like I said, I don't read a whole lot, so I don't have the practice to follow it. And it's not, I don't know if it's necessarily the way that you did it or just when you get in, because a lot of them are just dialogue back and forth.
Yeah.
There's no Tony said this, Brian replied this. And there's a couple of parts that I had to go back and read a time or two to realize that it's an actual conversation written down, like line for line. And like I said, it's not the way that you present it. I've always had trouble following in long chunks of dialogue when they're written like that, when it's just the two people back and forth talking.
Yeah. So this was go ahead.
I was going to say, but I did like it. It was an interesting, it was the, 21st century version of a diary. It's his cathartic means of escape.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool.
So I wanted to write almost the entire novel. I wanted to write the entire novel as a letter from Brian to Tony. And then I realized like at some point we age out of that kind of grief. So it wasn't sustainable, right? Like at certain point in Brian's grief, he had to move away from writing letters to Tony. And so you get a lot of that in the beginning of Before Pittsburgh. There's a lot of epistolary stuff. And that was really how I tried to envision the entire novel, was that Brian would be writing these letters to people and they would be writing them back. There's a few, I think, crucial exchanges there between him and Melissa. Like his entire relationship with Melissa is over long distance engagement in Before Pittsburgh without giving away too much. And that distance between the two, first by email and then over the phone, is and it's reminiscent of what we had in the distance between the two and After December. And that's, I think, a really key part of the book is that Brian and Melissa are never in the same place, and they've never been in the same place. And so the way their story is told in Before Pittsburgh is really symbolic. This is how the book becomes literary fiction instead of just commercial fiction. So, forgive me in my second glass of wine for trying to like over explain that. So, Teresa, we were talking about Brian and whether or not we related to him. And so Josh knows guys like this or has been that guy. What did you think of Brian? Like, is this a likable person? Did you have sympathy for Brian, or how did you feel about him in After December?
I had sympathy for him at first. You can tell the love that he had for his friend and how devastated he was. Then I started not to like him so much. And then I liked him again. But you could tell the closeness, the camaraderie. They've been friends for a really long time. The emotion shown in there, I thought was really well written. You really felt it. And that really tugged at my heartstrings for sure.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, the best friendship between the two of them. In my writers group, sometimes they ask me if the two of them were homosexual and were in love with one another. And I can't tell you how many times my writing group has asked me that question.
Really?
It's actually the same person who asks me it over and over. Are you sure these two men are not in love with each other? Like, yeah, I'm sure they're just really close friends. But the relationship of the crew, these guys as a group of friends, and the way they stay together, even at the end of After December, we know they've stayed together because 020202 happens. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't read After December, and they've reconciled, right? They've reconnected. Josh, do you know anybody, or Teresa, do you guys know anybody that have those kinds of friendships that have been that long lasting, that have been around for a while?
Yeah, actually, I do for sure. I actually, one of my good friends, it wasn't since high school, but it wasn't really long after. I've been friends with her for, I don't know, 16, 17 years. I do have to say I'm a little bit jealous of the high school friendship, though. I wish I had that. It's nice to be able to go back to that childhood, reading the stories about the things they used to do when they were younger in high school. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like it too. The little kid friendship is the one I miss. So I've got as a matter of fact, a couple of people I'm friends with on Facebook who have read After December and have left reviews and things like that I was good friends with when we were little kids, but we didn't stay friends all through high school and things like that. So Josh and I have been friends since 8th grade.
I was going to say, is that a rhetorical question directed towards me?
Well, some people think that long-term friendships like that don't survive, right? So that high school kind of wears out, or you move on, or something like a devastating thing like a friend's suicide or a friend's sudden death might destroy those friendship connections. And so I was just kind of putting that out there. All right. So Teresa, back to After December. When we think about the Casey and Brian and Casey and Jason love triangle, are you team Brian or team Jason?
That's a really hard question. I have a little bit of both. Like I said, I really felt for Brian in the beginning, and then as his character progressed through the story, I kind of didn't like him. I felt like he was a jerk. I'll be nice since we're on live stream. But I think at the end of the day, I think they have something really special. So if I had to pick, I'd probably say Brian.
All right. See, you're already ready for Before Pittsburgh. You're already gearing up to figure out exactly how that Pittsburgh thing comes down.
I know. Well, that's why I was so excited when I got to the end of the book. I literally sat down today, and I shit you not, I sent my boss a message and I said, look, I was like, I have some things I have to do. I'm going to log off a little bit early. If you need me, text me. And I went up to my room and I closed the door and I literally sat there and read for 2.5 hours. And I got to the end and I was like, what? What do you mean that's it? I still have more to go.
I love everything about that.
I anticipate I'll be binge reading the other one. It'll probably be one of those, 2:00 in the morning and I'm still awake kind of moments.
I love everything about that. I once did that with a book called, I've shared that book with you, The Bronze Horseman, where I scheduled meetings for myself. I was in California and I scheduled meetings for myself, booked meeting rooms and like went in and closed the door and read the book while I was supposed to be
Nice.
working. That's how obsessed with that book I was. That's what I want to write. I want to write a book that people become completely obsessed with. All right, listen, you guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on here and being part of this live stream. I've been wanting to talk to Josh and certainly Teresa, I didn't realize you hadn't read the book either, but he said that you guys had forgotten about it. So now you've not, and now you've got Before Pittsburgh. And so I won't keep you any longer. I'll let you go and binge read till you're blue in the face Before Pittsburgh. Josh, no spoilers. Don't tell her how it ends.
No.
He knows better. And I'm really sorry I was late, Case.
No, it's fine. Are you kidding? We had a good time. We had a chance to catch up and talk a lot about the books. And really, that's what this is all about, is just promoting the books, and not just me talking about them, but actual readers who have read them and enjoyed them. And I know you're friends and I know you guys love me, but Josh is also going to tell the total truth. And if you'd hated it, you probably wouldn't have even finished it. And instead, you read them both in 48 hours. So there you go. We'll just take that as a glowing review.
I never could get into the Bronze Horseman.
Yeah, see? And I loved that book. Thank y'all both so much. I really appreciate you. If there's ever anything I can do for you that would be anywhere near something like this, by all means, let me know. I love you both. And I'll see you guys in September, because you're hosting the September 25th party. So I'll see you then up in Virginia.
All right.